Serious laughter has to buy the beer.
I've got a funny feeling you'll be buying beer. Told you.
First person who cries buys dinner.
Buys dinner, okay.
Did you get those onions, babe?
Yeah. I'm going to be like doing this around him. In back of him, he won't even know.
Love it.
Whoa.
Are we
This is
on
going to be a strange podcast because
yeah.
we've technically been podcasting for nearly 5 days now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
We've
true.
just not been on.
Not
So,
been on.
and now we're on.
Oh,
We are
so
on.
you're on.
We are on.
Quick as that. It's getting good now, eh? We're getting efficient.
Yeah, we are. It's good.
So we worked out all the bugs.
Yeah. And they were really good. When I texted them the other night, I noticed they'd seen the message and then a new update came on and that fixed it
Right
straight
away.
away.
Fixed it.
So who are the Cullens?
I mean, we've got to
You've
know
watched
you.
podcasts. You've been sat in the background while we've been podcasting now, so you should be good.
You should be good at this answer. Who are the Cullens, honey?
Oh, gosh. Well, Tracy is a professional potter, and I'm a professional pen maker. We own a business called Cullen Design Group,
Yes.
and we have our own umbrella. It's like an umbrella thing for Hooligan Georgia pens and Tracy Cullen pottery.
Mm-hmm.
And we make one-of-a-kind pieces. Neither one of us do any type of production style work. We both do one-of-a-kind pieces, probably because we can't replicate anything. So
True,
One of
true
one.
statement. One of one.
So we just pretend like we're doing artistic stuff because we can't make anything look the same. So that's who we are.
That's who we are.
Yeah, exactly.
And we get to work in our shop here under our house, and
Yes.
our shops are adjacent, so we get to kind of collaborate all day long and
Yeah.
work separately but together, and it's really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it's a dream come true.
It is.
It really is. It looks like it.
Yeah. We
So
have a lot of
Tom,
fun.
How did it start for you? How and when?
I was I was a law enforcement officer for many years in Southern California, and I've always been interested in art and craft and woodworking and stuff like that. So probably in the early 90s, I started taking woodworking classes at a local college, and I fell in love with, I wanted to be a chair maker or a hand plane maker, and I fell in love with the process, and it was something that it was inside me, and I wanted to do it just so much. And I think a lot of pen makers start out as woodworkers. For some reason, they just do. But the problem with that is that with working in Southern California and you have a house and a family, the best place to work out of is your garage. Well, you're always sharing space with Christmas ornaments and bicycles and things like that. So I needed something that I could make in a relatively small area during, like, in inclement weather or when it was too hot, to roll everything out into the garage, because you'll get sunburned out there trying to run a table saw. So one day someone asked me to make them a kit pen with some figured wood, and that was the beginning of anything. I think that was about 2008 or 2009. And I just started doing them for fun. They were really quick. You could be creative in a matter of 20 or 30 minutes, and you could put these things all together. And I was handing them out to friends and family, or, I'd sell one here or there if I got a really cool blank and it looked pretty cool. And then eventually I got tired of it. Within less than a year, I was like, I want to make my own stuff. Mm-hmm. But it took a few years. By 2012, I had my own lathe, my own metal lathe that I got off of like Craigslist for like $400.
So when you say a kit pen, what was compromised in that kit that you then got tired of and wanted to do your own thing? If a kit pen turned up to me today, what would I be looking at, and what would I be able to personalise of that pen?
Not much. Well, a kit pen is a fun thing to do.
Right.
I don't want to downgrade anybody for using kit pens, because I used them and a lot of other pen makers have used them. Just like I remember the podcast with Ryan. He talked about using kit pens as well. A lot of us started that way. It's just a way to get your foot in the door. Yep. But it's just a series of parts that you use to create a pen. It would be like all the parts of a pen except for the wood or the acrylic that is the outside skin of the pen that you usually touch or whatever, and all the parts are press fit together You just glue a tube into 2 pieces of wood and you turn it on a lathe with a couple of bushings that make sure that you don't go under or over it or whatever. And then you press fit it all together after you finish it, and there you have a pen. And you can do that relatively quickly, and a lot of people can do it. I mean, they have group events where they do good things with kit pens, where they make them for veterans and send them overseas, or soldiers.
Yep.
Or they do them for like charity events, so everybody could get together, choose a kit pen of their choice, and turn it and finish it, and then send it to someone overseas or something like that. So there's a lot of good things, and there's some people doing some nice things with kit pens with like segmented blanks. What I mean is they take a lot of different woods and they glue them together and get all this different. So there's a lot of good things you could do with them. But for me, it was really limiting. I was limited in what I could accomplish with those.
There's not a lot of customization other than
Yeah.
choosing your material of your wood or your acrylic.
Yeah.
Everything else is
Exactly.
already as it comes. So
Yeah. Did you feel you couldn't be Tim Cullen with a kit pen?
No, I don't. I don't think anybody that truly has that mindset where this is going to be all my work would feel that way either.
Yeah.
So
And what about yourself, Tracy? How did it all get started for you as a potter?
More
recently as well.
more recently as a potter, I've only been a potter for about a year. I took a class in high school many, many years ago, and kind of never revisited it. I have a design background. I was an interior designer, and I've always been really creative, and I've refurbished furniture and all of that. And I was really looking for something that I could do more on a smaller scale, rather than designing people's homes. So Tim kept saying, you've always talked about pottery. Like, why don't you get back into pottery?
Yeah.
And I would always say someday, and Tim's famous thing is your someday is now. Like,
Yeah.
Stop saying someday. So I found a class with a local potter here who's amazing, Julie Nunn, and took a class, and that just started the ball rolling. And Tim is a great finder of things, so he was finding me my wheel, and he always says old tools can make new things, and
Yeah.
so he's found me. He's built an incredible shop for me. I'm so lucky to have all the equipment that I have, and I just started, and I love it. And I can spend 8 hours a day on my wheel just
she's
turning
proved
pots.
that.
Yeah, she
Yes,
has.
So it's kind of a humbling thing, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I really strive for that. And I've learned that with clay. Clay has a mind of its own,
it
and
does.
anything is possible. And so it's actually kind of calmed me down a little bit. I'm not such a perfectionist. I love my work to look the way I want it to look, but I realize that it's a natural material, and
It's interesting when you say
yeah, and so I love the little imperfections that are in a pot when it's done, because it may leave your hands looking one way, but by the time it's fired and glazed, it
Yeah.
does its own thing, and
Yeah.
I love that. It's kind of magical to see how things turn out in the end. So
So how important and how, I don't want to say crucial, because I fully believe you'd have done this regardless, but how beneficial is it for you as such a new potter, living with, working I was going to say round the corner, but it's not even round the corner,
around the corner, yeah.
from Tim, who's been doing it for 28 years?
No, since 2010, 9, so.
Yeah.
Full time though, but you were still making before that, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, I've been, was a fledgling woodworker. I never really got off the ground, but I made some stuff. So yeah, I've been a maker.
Yeah, you've been a craftsman
a long
a
time.
long
yeah.
time. So
But I wouldn't consider myself a professional level one until I became a full-time pen maker.
Right.
Well, maybe even while I was working, I was selling my work.
you were professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's been incredibly beneficial to me to watch him work, and watch him come up with the creative process of deciding what a pen's going to look like, and then getting to see the whole process from start to finish. And I mean, he's incredibly talented, and he's very meticulous and really good at symmetry and all those things that help me as a potter, because I'll come in and say, what do you think about these handles that I've put on this bean pot? And, you know, his eye can pick it out immediately.
It's good to have the feedback. It's
yes,
so helpful.
it's so fun to have the feedback. You know, he's in my shop and I'm in his shop back and forth all day.
The problem is that she takes criticism much better than I do.
You and I are in the same boat there, buddy.
So, and I'll bring her something, and she'll say, well, you know, you're just going to change it, and I don't want to get you all riled up, so just go ahead and change it.
Yeah, he'll ask my opinion, and I'll say, well, what do you think? Because I know how he is. It's like he will never send a pen out the door that isn't a borderline machine-made looking. Like, I mean, obviously, there's always going to be a little quirk in it that you know that it's a handmade pen, but you know, he won't sell what he won't own. And so if he brings me something and says, can you see this little speck right here? My answer to him is always, can you see it? And what do you think about it? Because if I tell him, no, I can't see it, he may set it down, but then within about 6 hours, he'll be looking at it. He's like, nope, I have to fix it.
Yeah.
You know, so I know what the outcome's always going to be.
Totally
I save him time.
understand that.
I just tell him, do what you're going to do. I know you're going to change it. I know you're going to fix it. And he does every time.
Because early on, she would say, no one's going to see that. And then, I do see it. And then I would kind of lose my bacon, you know. And it would end up in the ravine.
Yeah, there's lots of pen parts in the woods behind the house that he gets mad at him and just chucks them in there.
Chucks them away like...
One day there'll be a great dig out there. Someday somebody will find all these things. What is this?
Yeah. You need to put a little steel ball bearing in each one so somebody can come by
Come
with a
and
metal
get it,
detector.
the metal detector.
Some of it is metal, too.
I know.
So,
do you think you've gained years in your short career this far, having a partner like Tim?
Absolutely. I don't think that I could even be confident enough to sell my product or think that it's ready to go without having him right next to me and seeing his work and his craft. And he's been extremely beneficial.
I tell her all the time, too, not to interrupt you, but I tell her all the time, your stuff is awesome. Like yesterday, and you even witnessed it yourself when we were picking out a mug for Shannon Oyster, because, you know, we brought it to her, and she goes, Tim, not that one, because she probably doesn't like this, or that one's not
very self-deprecating.
And I said, Tracy, I like this. She likes this. Someone else is going to like this. And when we gave it to her, she just was blown away, and she's, you know, she loved it, and told a story about her middle name of her daughter being Flower. Because Tracy carves, I mean, just off the cuff, just carving flowers just for fun. And they all seem to look really, really cool and one of a kind. That's what's cool about her work, is that she doesn't realize that she's a sculptor and she doesn't even know it.
Yeah.
I think I have a little bit of imposter syndrome just because I am so new at it. And hopefully I'll grow into my craft a little bit better and not feel like such an imposter.
Yeah. And how about you, Tim? What about being so time served since 2010, doing this professionally as you view it, having someone so new in the same workshop? How's that benefited your work?
I don't think she's new. My wife is extremely talented. I remember one day I was working down here, and she was upstairs painting a portrait, just off the cuff, just for fun. And I'm like, holy cow! I mean, I couldn't do that at all. I went up there, and she's got this scene with. I could show you the painting when we're done here. It's got like a tree and a mountain. I'm thinking, what would Tim paint there? It'd be like a couple of stick figures or a hangman attempt. So.
Stereotypical square house window.
With a little swirly for a smoke, you know.
I got it.
But she's able, where she sees colors, and she's able to blend, and she's able to do things, and she has a good eye for, because, you know, when you're an interior designer, you take a lot of things from everybody else's craft and you're putting it together. So you know what you're doing. It's an art unto itself. That's why those people make big money.
Yeah.
But everything she does, she took a couple of, I don't know, I've seen her take lamps that look like they're about to die, you know, and people just throw in their trash and turn them into like, oh, I want that. You know, people say, I want that. Or we've had a couple of, when she was painting furniture, where we just repaired them, and some ladies from like the really nice areas come and pick these things up because they want them in their living rooms or their dining rooms and stuff. So there's nothing new about her. It's
Yeah.
just a new venture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a new
Yeah.
new craft.
A new way to
Nothing new.
express
Yeah.
my creativity.
Yeah. So what we didn't mention is you used to restore and upcycle furniture as well. What have you brought through to your pottery from that?
Colors, layering of colors. I really enjoyed doing painted finishes on pieces that had lots of layers and depth, and I kind of bring that into my pottery now, where I'll mix like a matte finish with a gloss finish, and I really like the chemistry of glazes, how they're going to respond on different clays. And it's great because Tim's pens are all mixtures of materials. You know, he'll have a wood, Fletchy, shop dog.
Yeah.
You know, his acrylics or woods or ebonite, or and then mixing with the metals. And so I think it kind of goes hand in hand, because we both take.
For those that are listening and not watching the video, we've got a
I
very
know.
cuddly Fletcher. For
Yes,
the first time in
Fletcher's our
4 or
shop
5
dog.
days,
Yes.
he's just got real cuddly.
Come here, baby. Come here. Come here, Fletchy.
Sorry.
But yeah, it's like
He's Tracy's shop dog.
Yeah.
Tim's work has lots of different elements, textures, scale, proportion, all of that, and he's fantastic at putting together a pen that has the perfect balance and symmetry.
So Tim, you work one of one. One of one, and is it people that approach you and say, I want a pen of this kind, or is it you just saying, I'm going to make this pen and it will be available as one of one?
Most of my work is very personal to people, I think. I'll get people and say, you know, take for instance, the dragon overlay pen that I made. So some guy came to me, he's a doctor in Arkansas, and said, I want a coiled dragon pen, you know, and I don't care how you do it, but that's what I want. You'll get people like that. I just want you to take it and run with it,
Yeah.
you know, and I want to see what happens. And then there are other people that are very, very specific on what they want.
Right.
But what I think is great is that I can give them that pen most of the time. I haven't ran into a situation where I haven't been able to, at least since I've been here in Georgia. But when someone says, I want you to engrave this or engrave that, or I want this material, right after you guys leave here, I'm going to be starting on a pen that's going to be made out of leather
Oh, wow.
nice.
and copper.
That's going to be cool.
And I had never done that before. I did a test on it. It's going to work. But this guy in Colorado wants leather and a piece of wood from his backyard. I've done things where old abandoned textile mill in Alabama went down, and the guy took wrought iron from one of the features in there, one of the tools or something, and a piece of wood from the structure, and he sent it to me, and I created a pen from that. I never thought I would use wrought iron in my work, but I did. So it just depends. People send me stuff all the time. I've got a piece of wood that's from Lebanon that a person just sent me from Australia, and because he's from Lebanon and he wanted cedar of Lebanon in his pen. It just runs the gamut. Whatever you can put on a pen, someone will send me.
Yeah. And do you think that's something you'll incorporate into your work, or do you see yourself doing more? Do you think Cullen Design Group will become a one of one, or do you think you'll work very different in that aspect?
I like the creative process of being able to just create what the clay is speaking to me at the time.
Yep.
And then I hope that somebody will enjoy it when it's a finished product. But I also have a lot of customers that are coming to me requesting specific things.
Right.
So I think for me, it's going to be more of a balance. If somebody asks for something, I will definitely try to do my best to make it for them.
Yeah.
But I also like that process of just making whatever I feel like that day.
Yeah.
So it'll be a balance.
I think in some crafts, or in a lot of crafts, things can become overly generic sometimes. And where I guess we fill that void is that where you can't get something usually. There's 1,000 pen makers out there. There's a lot of them. And there's very few that can personalize certain things about the work. And if they do, they can't do it all in-house.
Yes.
They have to send it out, or, you know, not to say that's bad or good, but I choose to do everything here. When my work leaves here, when her work leaves here, it's done by us. And if Tracy makes a tiki mug for someone specific and they want us, she does all the carving by hand. If I do your initials on a ring with leaves or flames on a clip for a fireman, it's all done here and all by hand.
Yep.
And I think what's important to mention as well, here is underneath your house.
Underneath
sleep
our
there.
house.
Yes,
Do you know what I mean?
we sleep up there. It's the best thing. We could just get up in the morning and walk down the stairs, and we're in our shop and
Well,
work all day.
I remember when we bought this house, she had a couple of things. I said, you know, obviously we're going to buy it for the shop, but she goes, I want a porch and such and such and such. So I had my marching orders because she was still working a full-time job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Did you envisage that you would become a maker at that time?
Well, I already had a design business,
Right.
But then because of how you get paid in design, I also needed the stability.
Right.
Because before Tim came into my life, I was mom of two, one income. So, so I wanted to get back to just being a maker.
Yeah.
And luckily now I can do that. So.
Sorry, as you were saying, Tim.
So I gave him marching orders.
Marching orders.
When he was house hunting for
because
us.
we were gonna, we didn't have enough. Her house where she was a very nice house, but it was small and it didn't have a huge space for two makers, and that was always our plan. So when I found this place, I thought, oh my gosh, look at this huge space.
Yeah.
So it was just barren walls and stuff, and little by little, her and I transformed it. We just transformed her shop again. You know, because
to give me more space,
more
because I was
space
running out
and-
of space.
and we put down a better floor for her and added a shelf so people can come and see and pick things out that they want to pick out, or have ideas that they can transfer to her and say, I like this, but I would like it in a different color or something like that.
Exactly. So,
So-
a little bit of a showroom.
Yeah, it's
if
a
you
little
will,
bit of it, yeah.
rather than it all being on our dining room table.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's all in one
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's basically our you know, that's been our, how it's kind of evolved.
Evolved into this, yeah.
And do you think this place is good enough to see the growth of Cullen Design Group? Feels like certainly your workshop, it feels really well established. And other than some of the real sexy machines that we've been talking about this week, you've got everything you need.
He does. There's
Well,
always
we
something
think
he's
that-
gonna
Yeah.
need.
we
He
think
might
that-
need more materials.
I don't think so.
He doesn't need more material.
Doesn't need any more material.
If you need pen material and nobody stocks it, Tim
Tim's
Cullen's
got it. Tim can make you
There's
anything.
a drawer with it there somewhere.
Well, I've always been that type of person. When I first started, because I was a full-time police officer, I took all the profits from my pen and I bought materials, and I tried to buy the rarest materials, and then I also tried to buy materials that everybody likes. So then if someone can come to me and say, do you have this green celluloid? Do you have this celluloid? Do you have this ebonite? Do you have this acrylic? 9 times, or
Are you coming up?
better often than not, I did have it, and I was able to offer that with them. But most of my work, it's funny because I have all those crazy things, but most of my work is solid colors that I mix with my metal, because metal is really where I do my best work. But for her, I think we're just skimming the surface. She's going to end up taking, because I really see big things for her. I tell her all the time, I want you to get rich and famous so I can just sit and engrave all day and box up your stuff.
Yeah.
So I can be a footnote in the history, and then your pottery can be huge. Because I really think that, as far as she's come in a year, I see that just as the beginning.
There's an aptitude there.
Oh,
there's
hell
a
yeah.
natural aptitude.
Without a doubt, I can't say it enough. And everybody sees it except for her sometimes.
That's what Kate's like.
But I think that's the case for a lot of people. Like, it's good that you're there to tell her, like, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, you work
Yeah.
well together
know.
in that respect. You seem to
Yeah.
feed off each other really well.
I've noticed that with a
Definitely.
lot of couples here. like support system, like, you know.
I think
Yeah,
it's
those
important.
couples from Scotland, they're not like that. They just fight loggerheads all the time. No, we're...
You guys are a great team.
The Scottish people are probably more like Americans than any other.
Yeah. No, you guys are a great team. It
Yeah.
shows in everything you do, and us getting the privilege of watching you work
Yes.
for these last, what are we on, day 5 now?
Yeah, we're going to turn it
has
on
been-
you right now.
We're like your biggest
I can
groupie
see the screw
fans.
turning.
Yeah, no, it's
And
been
you know,
amazing.
that's the thing, is that like you guys are such a good team and that you work so well together. You each know what your strengths are and each know what your
Yeah.
weaknesses are, you know, and you
We're
guys,
learning them. We're
Yeah, we're
certainly
learning.
learning them.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's fun to watch you, and we just sit and just like, this is very, very good.
Yeah, what you're doing is
I don't
amazing.
think people
Appreciate it.
realize that you're the, I mean, a lot of people know. Each time someone meets you, they're like, oh my God, they are the real deal.
And
They
what-
are.
yeah,
This is for
and they're
real, and this is really cool. And
excited about what you're doing.
yeah, and I think the more people that discover you, this thing has no limit.
No.
Appreciate it, man. Like, we've been very fortunate in Georgia, and the people in Georgia as well have been...
Super welcoming and
Yeah.
so lovely here.
I wouldn't change anything about this trip, because this trip had to be a presence in a lot of states. Like, it had, for what we were planning, it had to be a lot. But yeah, we'll be back here for sure. Some of the
yeah.
trips have been brilliant.
Yeah.
But not to turn it to us, because I'm not letting you do that.
We're pretty good at that.
Give it another 5 minutes.
Yeah. What does the pottery studio still need, and what does expansion for that look like? So you're doing almost everything in-house.
I do almost everything in-house right now. We just need to get some electrical run into my side of the shop. Right now I'm just, extension cords and stuff. So once we get my electrical in, I have 2 kilns that will be operating. Right now I take all of my work to my teacher's studio, which is just down the road, and I rent kiln space in her kiln. So ultimately the goal is for me to be able to fire everything in-house, and I will probably, I'm finding with the tiki mugs that I'm really enjoying the
Which are awesome.
sculptural element too. So I can see myself learning to sculpt some larger scale pieces, not just, cups and bowls and all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I would really like to get into some more, decorative sculptural pieces too. So that'll probably, and I want to start learning to make my own glazes. Right now I'm using commercial glazes, but having the freedom of creating your own glaze, it really appeals to me. It's just a big chemistry lesson that I really need to dive into. So that'll be something I'll be doing.
I think for her too is once she gets a website where people can see her, because I tell her all the time,
Visibility, isn't
the
it?
difference between you and me, and her distinct advantage that she has, is that the world is your audience. Everyone needs a mug. Everyone needs a plate. Not everybody needs a pen. Not everybody wants one. Some people
Until
just...
you get one, until you get that.
Right, so you get that Hooligan Georgia pen.
Some people are more utilitarian and some people like their fountain, but everyone needs a cool coffee mug.
Yeah.
And once the world discovers her, I think, like I said, it's going to be a bigger game for her. I just think, like I said, it's going to take a little bit of time once she gets her electrical and builds a website, and then I just think
Gets better on social media because I'm not so good at it yet.
Yeah.
But I really need to.
It is a visibility thing.
Yeah.
Right. For
It is a
visibility.
visibility thing.
and she's an untapped,
Potential.
there that is just immense.
Yeah. And you currently do everything through Instagram at the minute.
Yeah,
and we were talking just the
Instagram,
other day about
Facebook.
getting a website built.
Yes.
How do you get out to your customers?
I've
You've
been
got some
always just
great groups, don't you, that you work with?
I've been always just kind of a grassroots type person. I have serious devoted followers, and I appreciate them. A lot of people don't know me because I don't do pen shows.
Yep.
I don't advertise anywhere.
Which seems to be the big thing in the industry. If you do pens,
Yeah,
you go to
pen
pen shows.
Yes,
But as a one-of-one, that's a difficult thing to do.
99% of the makers have to. Again, though, because I rely on different types of my stuff is. I like to say my stuff is completely different. My mentor a long time ago, David Broadwell, once told me, because Tim, if you make your work different, if you make your work stand out, you won't need to go to pen shows. You won't need to, you'll never not be busy. And so far he's been right. But I have that thing where I think then tomorrow is not going to come and no one's going to want my work. So I always feel like that. So I'm always striving to do the next thing that I think and do it well.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't want to put something out that's not good. It has to be right. So I mean, I've been working on these nibs for like 6 to 8 months now, and I'm getting closer and getting closer. But
Yeah, that'll be a huge breakthrough because he'll probably be the only handmade nib maker in America, North
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, once he perfects that.
I'm not
which
the only handmade nib
so
maker, but the
close.
only pen maker that makes nibs. I have a
Yeah,
few
yeah.
friends like
Correct.
Jim Crawford. He makes nibs, and
But they make specifically nibs.
well, they just make nibs, but
Yeah.
they do a good job of they do a lot of the stacking and trick stuff that's really cool today, where you can get different looks where you're. But for me, as a pen maker who makes pens all by hand, having a nib to go with it,
that you've made, it
That's
just
really
adds
special,
to that
yeah.
layer
yeah,
of
of customization, so I can do any size, any style, you know. And then I have my friend Mark Bacchus, who's helping me with learning the grinding and the aspect and the tuning, and he's a great resource as well.
And was that a progression that in your mind just had to happen to make it fully a Tim Cullen thing, or was it just the next challenge?
I'm different than I think most other makers, and not that it's bad or good, but I don't ever settle. I don't get to a point where I have a cap and a barrel and a section and a nib that I pre-buy. To me, that would get really boring. And not to say that's a bad thing. People love doing it. They find these great materials that they can create, you know, different models. But for me, I just can't rest on my laurels.
Yeah.
The whole overlay thing was a proof of that. And that started off really rough. And she had a couple of dark days dealing with me. But eventually I got it right. And where I just I would take a piece of silver, sterling silver, and I would do the design, and I would engrave it, and then I would pierce it and cut all the voids, and then turn it around. And there was a lot of them that are like the one I showed you earlier that's sitting up there. It's a very difficult thing. It's a long, drawn-out process, but I wasn't going to let it beat me.
Yeah.
You know, I was gonna do everything I could to get it done, because I really feel that the more things that I can offer overlays, I can offer engraving, I can offer, you know, nibs, I can offer, you know, vintage materials, I can offer the more things and do it right, and I can offer, you know, different sizes. The list is endless,
Yeah.
and the more you know, viable, or the more attractive my work will be.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone can come to me and say, you know, and this is the truth. I have someone that just became an American citizen, and someone has asked me to make a pen for this person, and they want me to engrave it with some very patriotic colors,
Right.
some red, white, and blue. And so that's coming up. And see, that's the great thing, is that these things are very personal to people who give them out, as well as people
Yeah.
who receive them.
Yeah.
And
they're heirloom quality product, aren't
right, and he brings his customer into the process
Process,
from the
yeah.
beginning, the design process. He keeps them up to date every day on the progress, and it really draws them into the personalization of their pen, and he
They
is
feel a
creating
part of it.
Yeah.
heirlooms.
Same with you. When I did your pen, I
yeah,
would give
we were getting pictures
Yeah.
daily of this is the progress. Like every day
Yeah.
you were working on it, we knew you were working on it. And is that the way you operate with all customers?
Everyone.
That's
They
cool.
become a part of it, because sometimes you can get to a point where someone says, I have a guy down in Florida, Dennis. He's a great customer of mine. He's a wonderful man, but he likes what he likes.
Yeah.
And there'll be times where Dennis sees something he doesn't like and he wants me to change it. Well, I'm all about my customers. I always tell them, if you're not happy, I'm not happy.
Nice.
So I'll change it on the fly. I'll go back, make a whole new thing on the lathe after I've spent hours making it. And I know I should probably pass on costs to people, because sometimes I assume that that's what they wanted, but they didn't. But I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't do that. And that's just the way I operate. It has to be right. If they're not happy, then it doesn't go out the door. I don't care what it is. I've got full pens right over there. I've got them in that box that just didn't work. And I remember doing a carbon fiber pen for a guy. He wanted this pen so bad, and I looked at it and I said, I don't care if you want it or not. It's not going out the door. I ended up giving him what I did do for free.
Really?
Just giving it to him. Yep, because there's just no way. If it looks half done, or doesn't look right, or it doesn't look quality enough, I'm just not going to, I don't care.
Well, if he's got it and it wasn't perfect, it would sit with you in your back of your head like, that wasn't right. And it would bug you.
Exactly.
Everything bugs me.
Yeah.
And how important, like for someone that's not doing, well, I know you've got some customers that are repeat customers, but for someone that's not doing, so someone's not going to buy a pen every week, but how important is that still to you to make sure it's exactly what they want? Because they might never buy from you again, regardless of whether they've had a great experience or not, because they've got a pen now.
I've had that a couple times where they just want the one thing that they've always wanted, and that's it. I've had pens returned to me for repairs because they drop or break or something like that. But I've never had someone, and knock on wood, by the grace of God goes I, that someone said, this is not what I wanted. I've never had that because we go through that process together.
Yeah.
I'm showing them, I'm saying, look, this is how it's going to be. If there's a problem with how I'm constructing it, I'll let them know. I said, you know, this might not work, or maybe we should do this, or we should do that. And it has to be that way with me because I want them to get exactly what their idea was. Mm-hmm. And if I don't do that, then my work is probably 99% commission work.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Where Tracy's, I don't think she really wants to be a commission potter as much as she just wants to do what her heart's telling her.
Yeah.
But that's what my heart's telling me to do. My heart's telling me that I need to make this person's dream pen come true.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I may not be able to do that on everything, but as much as I can, I try.
Yeah.
The greatest compliment too is when they go through this process and they see the pen on a daily basis practically, and so they already know what it's going to look like by the time they receive it.
No surprises.
Well,
But
I'll tell you now,
when they
on air, they
receive
don't
it,
know what it's going to look like.
Thank
think they know
you.
what it's going to look like. Yeah.
He won't toot his own horn about this, but yes, when they get them and they are blown away, they're like, this is so much better in person than I ever could have imagined.
There's
I mean,
additional details and layers that
yes.
you don't think are going to be there until you got it in your hand.
Lately,
Right.
I've been doing a lot of 60th birthday pens.
Right.
I've got
Yeah.
one on the bench. I just finished one, and he wanted a Yankee pen. His wife wanted to get a Yankee pen, so I got the stadium wood from the seats that were taken out
Yes.
of in the 1940s. She wanted a specific era, because I have 1920s, 1940s, and maybe the 50s or something. Because they constantly, with the weather, so they take the old slats or the old seats and they take them and use things to make things. So she wanted him to have this pen from the 1940s era, and she wanted to have his stuff all engraved and everything like that. And it was really nice seeing the picture that she has sent me of him holding the pen with a big smile on his face. Mm-hmm. That's what I don't want to. The money's nice, but that's really what drives me, is to give someone something that they
really
never
happy
thought they
about.
would get.
Right.
And that's really my work. I don't do a lot of ornamentation for my sake.
Yeah.
I do it for theirs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you? You've got a collaboration going on at the moment. Do you operate in the same way, where you're working with Kevin's Barbecue?
Right.
Which is
Your
Kevin,
favourite
very
new
good.
place.
441 South Barbecue,
Yeah.
best ever. Yeah, no, Kevin's doing a series of YouTube videos about his barbecue, and he is using a few of my pieces, to hold his things. And he recently said, hey, I need this and this and this from you. So it's great to collaborate with him. And, we were sitting down, Tim and I were eating. I said, do you want those, wheel thrown and perfect, or do you want the more hand built and organic shaped? And he's like, yeah, hand built, that'll be great.
Yeah.
So, and then he's talking to me about what colors will work and make
Great.
his barbecue pop off the plate.
Yeah.
And, so
That's
that's
cool.
super fun to get to do that.
Can't
So,
wait.
Yeah. So you get to work in a similar way to yourself, where it's a constant.
yeah,
It's not just a lay it off to the maker and see what they come up with.
exactly. No, we collaborate.
Yeah,
with,
I tell her all the time. I mean, you get with the right people who want your stuff, it's going to be a constant thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be a
absolutely.
revolving, constant flow of, hey, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this.
Yep.
And I think that's good for her. Where, the turnaround time for her work is much quicker than for mine.
Right.
So I only make 45, 50, sometimes 60 pens a year. I'm a
Yeah.
really, really small, they would call it a boutique maker or whatever. For her, she spends all day at that pottery wheel. And let me tell you, she spends all day. I mean, she comes up for a sandwich and goes right
I know,
back
I'm like,
down.
do you actually take a lunch break?
We
or-
do, you know, we take dance breaks if there's a good song on.
Nice.
You know, to blow off a little steam, and then we take a lunch break, and then we get right back to it. So,
Yeah.
but you know, it doesn't feel like work because we're doing what we love. I mean, obviously, it's a job as well, but
Yep.
I think if you're doing what you love, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
And how do you manage that work-life balance as husband and wife, makers in the same shop, live together, partners, you need to do the lives together, all that jazz? Has it been quite natural?
Quite natural. I mean, we laugh about it all the time. I think we feel like maybe we're unusual, but I guess we're maybe not. We're just really lucky that we love spending time together.
Yep. Jamie and Lucy,
so
I think,
we
said
don't
it
have a
well.
problem.
Jamie and Lucy at Bantam Framework said it very well. It's like, if you can't work with your partner, there's a high chance you shouldn't be married.
Exactly.
If you can't be there together in the same shop.
Well, we do everything together. We almost combined what we do together because I go with her and help her box her stuff up,
Yep.
or we go to the post office together. She sends something, I send something.
Right.
So a lot of our stuff is intermingled. You
Yeah.
know, of course, asking each other the advice of certain things.
Yep.
You know, and it's fun because I'll be working here and she'll come in looking for a tool, you know.
Stealing your tools.
Stealing
my
a tool. I
tools,
put 'em back, I
taking
put 'em
it.
back.
No, she doesn't.
I do.
Kate does
Eventually,
that as well. Putting
eventually.
them back, I'm like,
Yeah.
putting them back and putting them back exactly where you found them are two very different things.
One of the things I like too is I've become her pottery repairman. So
Yes.
if some glaze will break off and kind of make a shard or something, she'll just leave it on my thing
I'll
over
leave
there
it
by
right
my
here.
engraver, and I'll try to grind it down with a diamond stone or a diamond wheel
Nice.
or whatever, or
Right.
you know, give it some texture somewhere where it's kind of looks a little hanky,
Yeah.
and it adds more personalization to
Yes.
her work.
True.
Now all her stuff is, you know, constructively it's good, but sometimes glazes have a mind of their own,
Yeah,
which
things you
I'm
can't
learning.
control, you know.
You know, but
And I never
some-
want anything that's going to scratch somebody's table, so smooth
she-
bottoms are
Yeah.
super important.
it's
so.
important to her that
He'll help me
every
out with
piece
that.
that she makes be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So she's brought a lot of pieces back from the dead that you wouldn't have thought would have gone out, and her teacher even says so. Oh my gosh, that's awesome that you guys were able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because this would have been a throwaway or beat up or sent away.
Yeah.
We have the ability to take some of my tools that I use and use them on hers. We just we're going to collaborate on a teapot.
Yes.
I'm going to make the handle for her teapot
That's
that
gonna
she
be
made.
so
Yeah,
much
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
He'll use a
That'll
really
be cool.
interesting
really
blank
nice.
of wood or
Yeah,
acrylic, and he's
brilliant.
going to make the metal part for my teapot handle. So that's super exciting. And eventually I want to get into making pen holders and pen pillows and
Yeah.
all of that. So he'll collaborate with that. We might come up with a
Yeah, that was one of my
combo.
questions was going to be, you know, have you thought about collaboration? It sounds
Yeah.
like you
All
absolutely
the time.
have.
Yeah, all the
it's just so
time.
natural that maybe it's just a mutual respect, and then of course love and admiration, because she's a much more talented person than I'll ever be.
That's not true. Not
It's
true.
true, and everybody even knows it.
both
I'm
talented.
really more persistent than she is because I'm the one that's always pushing her to the next level. I
does.
mean, I'm a throw caution to the wind type of person, where Tracy's a little
That's
bit more.
you and I.
Yeah.
You've got talent. I just work really fucking hard.
Well, Tracy's a little
Yeah.
bit more guarded.
Yeah.
She doesn't. I don't think she knows things. You know, she wants to make sure that she's all in. Not me. I'll get into something not even knowing if I like it or not sometimes, and it's
Yeah.
crash and burn, or sometimes it works. She's a little bit more thoughtful.
I contemplate a little bit more than Tim does.
But I just like, let's do it. Let's go get it. Even the day we found her pottery wheel, she's sick as a dog on the couch. And I'm like looking through for stuff for her. I'm trying to find it. I find something and she's sick of the dog. I say, hey, you want to go pick this up with me? She's like, are you serious? I'm sick.
Yeah.
I show her the wheel. She's like, I'll be ready in 20 minutes.
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
I mean, it's you
We're
know,
just-
I love to try to push her, you know,
Yeah.
and not to her limit or anything, but just, you know, you can do this. You're good. You're
You need
better than
that.
you think you
I think
are.
you need
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you
yeah,
do.
I think it's really important.
No one ever has to
Definitely.
push me. They have to pull me back
Well,
in.
I have to
sometimes.
rein him back in sometimes. But no, it's a good work-life balance. We have fun together. We work together.
We have a blast together.
Yeah,
Every day
every
is
day.
great. I've
And
never.
we've experienced that, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. We've experienced it firsthand.
Yeah, we
and
have.
for the last 6 years, we've spent every day together,
Yeah,
24
which is
hours.
kind of unusual, but
Yeah.
we don't ever get sick of each other. We just love spending
So
time.
we
He's my
could be
favorite
on
person
an
in the
island
whole world.
together, I guess, just eating
could.
coconuts.
So long as you're at the
We could,
workshop,
huh?
you'd be all right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. So the making side of it sounds like it's exactly what you want to do, but something both of you have said to myself and Kate at various times over the weekend is you've both had previous lives, and you've said you feel more like Tim Cullen now than you ever have, and you've said you feel more like Tracy Cullen now than you ever have.
Yes.
How important has that been to you at this stage in life?
It's the most important thing. I finally feel like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, with who I'm meant to be with. And I don't take it for granted. It's truly, I don't know. I get emotional talking about it, but yeah, it's just truly an amazing feeling to finally
If you do,
just...
I'm hoping that he will cry as well.
Yeah, we've got a bet on it. Can't make me cry. It doesn't happen.
Cry. No,
I think for
we're
me
really
it's
fortunate.
a little bit more difficult transition than for her. I mean, I was a cop for many, many years. So, and then living the lifestyle I have throughout my life, everything was confrontation and everything was, so I had to create this persona, because it's a difficult job. And I don't want anybody to take this wrong, but I don't think anybody should be a police officer, because not just that it's not a great job or profession, it's just that the things that you see, and then trying to have a family, it's very difficult. And then, there's a lot of outside things that start to creep in and can be very bad. So for me, getting out of that, it took me several years to decompress from that life. I don't think early on I was the best partner for Tracy. I think I might have cheated her of a year or two there until I could decompress and become who I think I am, because I never really knew who I was until maybe a couple of years ago. And then I've started to evolve into this person that's no longer confrontational, and no longer, I've lost a lot of my arrogance, and, I'm still a cut up and I'm still a clown, but it's just, that's who I am naturally. But I think there's room at the table for everyone, no matter what you do or how you do it. And I just want everyone to, I just like that chill atmosphere now. I don't like anything to be, a contest and as a cop, that's just, you're kind of, sometimes you're naturally inherently like that. Yeah. And maybe some people handle it better than others. I did not handle it well. Yeah. Even though I had what I would consider, and most people would consider, a semi-successful career at it.
Yeah, he had a very successful career at it. He downplays it a lot. But I think what's so incredible about him is in his lifetime, he's been able to build two amazingly different but amazingly successful careers. Yes. Awards and accommodations in both, and they're so different from each other. And he's been able to just effortlessly. I mean, he talks about, having a little bit of growing pains, just growing into who he is now. But to me,
I couldn't have done it without
effortless.
her, though. Yeah. Not to interrupt you, but I will say this, is that you need someone like this for a person like me. I mean, it must have been, the perfect puzzle pieces, because if I would have been with someone that was maybe more A-type personality or more aggressive, then, you don't, when something goes towards her, it doesn't come back the way it would have with someone else. She's able to diffuse certain things about me and maybe bring out the more, I don't know, the better side of me than maybe somebody else. Not to say that that's bad for the other person. It's just that I wasn't right for the other people like I am for her. At least I think so. She may not think so, but I think.
I think you're perfect.
Okay, thanks.
And what's that decompressing and having a partner like Tracy allowing you to decompress done for the output of your work?
It has made everything much better. I just feel I'm more in tune with my work and less worried about myself. Yeah. So I'm able to focus more on the creative side of being a pen maker or a turner or an engraver, because I think I went to my very first engraving class with Ray Cover, and I was I was just retired from the police department now, and it was a difficult time. Every time I would mess up, I would react in a negative manner.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, I was back at Ray's, and he goes, "Tim, you're like a different person, kind of. You're not so hard on yourself when you make a mistake. You have to remember." Being a policeman, you don't have to remember, but being a policeman, there's not a lot of room for mistakes.
Yes.
No,
As
that
you
could
see-
be life and death.
Yeah. And you have to make decisions in split seconds.
Yeah.
And sometimes you make wrong ones and sometimes you make right ones, but hopefully most of the time you're making right ones, because if you make wrong ones, it's not like hey, I just stubbed my toe on the chair or something. It's like, this is bad.
I see you.
Yeah.
So I was always very hard on myself, also as a military man.
And very reactive, because
Yes.
you had to be.
Yeah.
Yes, I was very reactive in a negative light. So back to your question, it's just like she will always be the calming of my, she's always the calm
Calming
sea.
of your storm, yeah.
Yeah, and she doesn't do it in a way where it makes me feel bad. Sometimes I get a little too crazy. She has to put the hammer down. Calm down or you're going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, I'm mostly worried about his health, because he was in such a stressful job before.
Yeah.
And we are in the later part of our life. And, I want to get as many years together as we possibly can. So his health is first and foremost for me.
Yeah. She would tell me, "Tim, I'm so upset that I couldn't give you the best years of my life." And I said, "You didn't give me the best years of your life, but you gave me the best time of your life."
Yeah.
And do you think that best time of your life is because you're making, you're doing what you want, you're obviously together? Like, it seems like the making's not the making. The making is part of your
I
world
could shuck
together.
corn with Tracy. I could.
I think we
wash
could do
dishes.
anything
we could
together.
Do anything together.
But it is. We get to live our dreams. We
do,
get to
yeah.
do what we want to do that makes us happy every day, and we get to do it
If we were
together, side
washing
by
cars
side.
together, we'd have a good time.
We'd have
I
a good
just-
time doing anything.
It's just, I don't get it. I didn't think it existed.
True.
I didn't think it existed. I didn't think I was ever going to find someone that was perfectly made for me in every way. And in my opinion, I don't know how she
In
feels.
my opinion, too. Like you
Okay.
said, we're the puzzle pieces that just fit perfectly together, and we're lucky.
Yeah.
We're lucky.
Yeah, we're blessed.
Very.
And like I said, I thank God every day for, even if we didn't have a shop, because someday we're not.
Right. Someday we'll get too old to do it, and we won't have a shop, but we'll still,
And
enjoy being side by
she'll
side.
wake up every
whatever
morning
we're
and
doing.
put my medicine cocktail out on the table. And
Keep the ticker going.
Yes, yes.
but beyond making is what we have is bigger than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, guys, I think beyond making, you're an inspiration.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
thank
agree.
you.
And I'll
I
leave it
agree.
to. And hey, thanks for the accommodation, the constant giving and love that you've showed us in the time that we've been here. Has been
Yeah,
what a
it's been
start
awesome.
to our first proper trip in the
Well,
US.
you've
Well,
been lovely to have, and lovely
I
to
think
get
what
to
you're
know.
doing is just absolutely amazing, and
Yeah.
not to turn it back on you, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You guys gave up so much to create this.
Yeah.
Yes, and to create
And
this
what
space
you've done,
for makers.
yes, and you're creating something to help others. And I think we as makers have an obligation to you personally. If I'm in that book, I want to do what I can to make anything for you better. And I
Which
think-
Tim is, by the way, for anyone listening or
Yes.
watching. Edition 6
Buy a
is
copy.
buy a copy.
Yes.
Tim's on the front cover, and he's
Yep.
got his story inside. So
Yes.
Yes, so I think what you're doing is amazing. I hope that this world for you opens up. You have tons more people to profile and
Yep.
tons more interviews, and I'm just so proud of you guys.
Thanks,
And I
Yes.
can't say it
We
enough.
are your biggest fans.
We are your
Absolutely.
biggest fans.
A joy to have you here, and we can't wait for more visits.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot more, I think, in the
Yeah.
future.
yeah,
Good.
for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Go on, last question. I guess you know it by now. What advice would you give your younger selves?
Well, probably for me is to don't be afraid to fail. I think that a lot of times we're so caught up in it has to be perfect before you can even start.
Yeah.
And I get in my head a lot about I have to do this, 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 and this before I can even do what I want to do. And I think I've learned over time, and I wish I would have learned it a lot sooner, that it doesn't have to be perfect. Just jump in. Just trust in yourself, and trust that you can fly. Don't worry about the branch breaking underneath of you. Just trust that it's going to work out, and just follow your dreams. And if you want to create and you want to have that, you don't have to have a website first. I don't have a website, but just go for it and do it, and everything else will kind of fall in place as you go.
Amazing.
And if not, there's always ice cream.
Exactly.
There's always
ice cream.
I think for me, and this is a huge thing because we've already touched on it a lot, because I think, I've made a lot of wrong choices with the people that I surround myself with, and not to their detriment, but to mine. I mean, I feel like sometimes I need to do an apology tour. The most important thing is to choose your partners wisely in every sense of the word. Who you can trust, who trusts you, who has your back, who you have, because that makes things all worth it, because you are a result of the people that you are around. I am so thankful for my wife. I am so thankful for her, because I wouldn't be where I was. I'm thankful for my friends, Bob and Leanne and Jack and Della.
Yep.
I'm thankful for my friends who help me at the drop of the hat. Lori Union out in LA, I can message her any time of the night and she'll come back and help me.
Yeah.
Kate, we've done that too. I mean, my friend Jason Olson, my friend John Tello, Ryan Kruzak, David Broadwell. These people are always there to help me when, they've always had my back. You just have to know, don't waste your time on people that don't, you may think they care about you, but they don't.
Yeah.
And you'll be wildly successful. I don't care if you have just one good person in your life. That may be all you need. It's better than having 50 that don't give a crap about you.
Yep.
Right.
So true.
Surround yourself with people who bring out the best in you.
And you guys have shown that to us, that you care about us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And we will do anything in our power to make you successful.
Yep.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Oh.
Brilliant. I think it's great advice.
Yeah,
And I think it's
it's
certainly
true.
something that I concentrated on probably 4 or 5 years ago, is weeding out the bad influences. And obviously we don't all have a great choice to do that. Some of us have to work directly with them, totally appreciate that. But you can make sure that you're only the work person at that stage, or you're the only this person at that stage. There's some people that you can't get entirely away from, and I would encourage you to try and entirely get away from them. But if you can't, there is a way to make sure that you're only that person in that situation. And
And you guys are going to have that challenge throughout, because you're relatively young and you've got something that is just wonderful. And you're going to find people that are going to try to latch onto you for their own good, not yours. So it's going to be a difficult process, because they're going to promise you things, and you've already discussed that with us, that you've been promised things that didn't come through, and people will tell you all kinds of stuff. And I've had that happen to me too. So you've got to, and that's just a one thing that's...
Yeah, choose your circle with people that are...
I know that I couldn't. Tracy would be trying down here trying to turn lathes and stuff. I know that she would attempt it if I couldn't. If something were to happen, she would try to do everything in her power. Would she be successful? Maybe not, but the effort's there.
Yeah, and that's it. It's the effort.
It's a thing I'm very passionate about now. I will not surround myself. I always tell Tracy now, I say, and this is one of my stupid quotes, I say, don't ever get involved with something you think that might go wrong in the future.
Bit of advice from you. It was good.
Yeah.
My one to Kate's always been, don't give someone or something 5 minutes if you wouldn't give it 5 years.
That's true.
And that's what we decided to do with this. We knew we'd give it 5 minutes to have a conversation, and we knew we'd give it at least 5 years come hell or high water.
Yeah.
And I honestly think, and I think you're an instrumental part of this in inviting us out here and hosting us, that we'll look back on the launch of Edition 6 and this trip as a major turning point for We Are
Well, that
Making.
cover.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, it's so lovely.
Those hands.
And that red cover.
Red is
It's a
favorite
good
color.
colour.
It's
That's
a
it.
great color.
It's funny
isn't
how
it?
we just chose the red.
I know.
So,
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah. Thank you
thank
very
you so
much.
much.
No,
I'm so
thank
glad
you.
we managed to, and it's important for people listening, that we approached Tim about podcasting Tim, and Tim went, 5 for 5 now, Tim, in 3 days recommending every maker under the sun to go and see and setting up meets, except himself.
Yeah, so.
You're a very selfless couple, and
well, like I said, your success is really important to us.
Yeah, because what you guys are doing is amazing.
Need you guys. Our industries need you guys.
The makers
need you. You're
a voice,
important.
And you guys give the platform and the space to everyone.
You crying yet, Jack?
Nope.
I know.
Nope, you're still not.
I thought I saw tears squeak out.
You'll go before me.
You'll go before me.
Right,
Anyway,
let's wrap
thank
up at
you.
that. Thanks
Yes,
again, guys.
thank you
Really
so much.
appreciate it.